All right, so I just finished editing this episode, and first thing you'll notice is it's an hour and 40 minutes long. So I decided to do this episode of me. This is me telling my story in a different way. I've told pretty much all of this in the series that I did about myself. But this was, I decided to set the camera up. This was the second time I've met with Tom and Dan. I gave them a real brief, sort of maybe 30-minute version of the story. So they asked me to come back and do tell the whole story. And so we get through the college to home theater sales to financial advisors part of the story in this episode, and so it's about an hour and 35 minutes of start to finish. So I decided to put it up here unedited, so just be aware that you probably shouldn't watch this with the kids around. You definitely shouldn't watch this with the kids around. The Tom and Dan's a comedy show, and they tend to speak a little differently than I tend to on the channel. But just to cue you in on how I've gotten to know these guys. I know their story because I've been listening to them since I was early 20s. They were on a local morning show called Monsters in the Morning in Orlando on a channel called Real Radio. And so I've kind of grown up with them, and the parallel of their story to mine is that they now have a really significant podcast. They connect. I connect to them, not so much the comedy side or their brand of humor. I connect more to them and their story, and they their life story kind of comes through their through the show and through the comedy that they're the entertainment that they're providing. And so this if you want to listen to this in podcast form, this is on their subscription service. I'll put a link in the description here. It's like $3 or something like that a month. You probably will get hooked if you start listening to them. It's the only podcast that I listen to pretty much everything they do. And so you may or may not relate with their brand of humor, but their story is very similar to mine in that they had careers and then they had a side hustle. So A Mediocre Time was their podcast. And so, Tom and Dan, A Mediocre Time has become really significant, both locally and nationally. And so my designer, the Danger Brain brothers, Sebastian and Alfonso, had built their entire brand. And so he connected us and said, hey, I think you guys should do some stuff together. And so we've been, this will be the second episode of me discussing my story, and the next episode will be the YouTube story, and we'll be talking life and business and things like that. So anyway, I decided to bring the camera and set it up. I know it's a little awkward because it's a tight room and I've got a really wide angle lens on, but I think the audio is decent enough for you to listen to it. If you want to hear the high quality audio form, again, go become a member of Tom and Dan, and at least for a month or two, try it out. I don't get anything out of it other than I really like those guys. So anyway, check it out, and again, make sure that you're watching this. This isn't like a normal Obsessed Garage video where it's clean and you can watch it wherever you want. You probably want to, you don't want to watch this maybe at the office, or you don't want to watch it, with your 8-year-old within earshot. So anyway, thanks for listening to my story, and I hope hope me sharing it is useful to some of you.
Okay. You want to start, buddy?
Sure.
Here we go. And 3, 2.
Welcome to your BDM show of the week. We got a special chatting with the masters today.
We do indeed.
Lee's here. Samantha's here. You just got back from the dentist.
Yeah, man. It sucks.
Yeah. Anytime your jaw is
and I don't hate the dentist, and my teeth have never looked or felt better, supposedly, because I'm on this run of obsessively flossing.
Mm.
And they're like, yep, teeth look great. But then I have this one area on the side of my, like the right side behind, like where your wisdom teeth would be, where either I have a chunk of the old wisdom teeth growing out, like, and I guess that happens because I had it on the other side where like a little piece of bone that, you know, whether got chipped off or left in there from when I was like 10 or 11 years old. But eventually that, you know, that shit will grow out. So there's something wrong over there, but I started, you know, of course I'm touching with my tongue obsessively. And me and the dentist is a BDM, he's laughing, and he's like, you did this. and I'm like, I know. And
you literally rubbed it into the bone.
I rubbed my gums off my jawbone to exposed bone.
That's anxiety crazy.
Yeah. Oh, I told you. It's just been...
Most people like grind their teeth. You licked your gums off.
I licked my fucking gums off. I'm a gum licker.
That is bad.
I am little...
Danny Gum Licker.
little. I want to be little Gary Gum Licker.
Gary.
Right,
Gary sounds better.
With the gums.
Mediocre time with Tom and Gary.
Yeah, so the show from now on will be a mediocre time with Tom and Gary Gum Licker.
No, it's too much like Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Gary. Cartoon mouse, tiny cartoon mouse. I'll start dressing like a cartoon mouse.
All right,
I'll start jumping things. You can be my coach.
Well, speaking of being obsessed,
they didn't give me pain pills at all.
I know, I was mad about that.
But they did give me antibiotic mouthwash. They're like, use this, and then I have to go to another doctor on Thursday, like an oral surgeon, and they're like, use this mouthwash now. You know, use it 2 to 3 times a day. It will turn your tongue jet black. I'm like, what the fuck?
Like a giraffe tongue?
Yeah, get a giraffe tongue or a chow chow dog tongue.
That's a weird side effect.
I asked, I'm like, did they need to do that? They're like, well, it's the way it is.
They put the black dye in there.
There's nothing that can be done. So here I am. Sorry for being a little bit late. I apologize. I hate it, but goddamn, it hurts. Yeah. It really, really hurts.
So speaking of being obsessed, we have a chatting with the masters today, and I was excited about this one. I know we've had this gentleman in on a corporate time to talk about his YouTube channel, to talk about kind of how he started it, but it wasn't enough time. And once we
got to the end of a corporate time, we're like, man, we can talk to you a lot more, you know. And it's funny too, because even a corporate time is not like traditional radio style, but it's still not enough time, because I think we've gotten spoiled into these long form interviews where we get into these really good conversations with people, and then, you know, before you know it, even 20 minutes isn't enough time, you know.
Yes. Now, Matt, should I introduce you as a YouTube star, as a financial advisor, as a new media mogul? What do you consider yourself?
I don't know, man. I'm just doing me.
All right, that's perfect. So we got Matt Mormon from Obsessed Garage, and he's on the show today. And the reason why I invited you back, Matt, is because on the radio show, I'm really am super interested in your story, and also how you started, and you know, because it's a little bit different than other YouTube stars that we talk to, and I really do feel like you have a grasp on this whole new media.
Are you as successful as Nicole and Jenna Make Pizza?
Whatever happened to that?
Which was the old camel girl that we had. One of my favorites. Her name is Nicole Hampton. She's gorgeous. She's a Playboy model and that sort of thing. But I think she's trying to put a little bit of that, like, I model all the time and that's all I do kind of shit behind her. So she started a YouTube channel with her friend, Jenna, called Nicole and Jenna Make Pizza, and they did one episode, and that was it.
How many views? Like 7
maybe
million?
No. They maybe 100.
Did not go well.
No, did not go well.
She's still waiting on her monetization check.
Yeah, well, I think she thought that the bikininess of her, like her hot bikini bod, would translate to her making pizza with her friend, but they just wore dirty sweatsuits. When they made
she didn't understand.
She didn't wear anything sexy or anything. And I'm not saying that you have to do that. I'm just saying if you want to know why you didn't get the views, and then maybe your bikini pics have been stolen and shared all across the entire world, that would be why.
Yes. So
that makes sense.
Matt, let's start from the beginning. Before you had your YouTube channel. So, what were you doing before this as a job? Because you were successful before YouTube, correct?
Yeah, I guess if you went back a little further than that, I'm an engineer by education, right? Just by makeup. I'm like I'm one of those dudes, one of those people who researches crap and does math and calculates things. And so I got a job. Actually, remember Sound Advice here in town?
Yeah.
Well, I was the #1 salesman in Orlando for a little while, when in like 2002 and 3.
Nice.
It was freaking.
That was
awesome.
A heyday of Sound Advice. I remember it.
Like the next year, like 2004 and 5 was like the peak. I left in 2004 to go to Merrill Lynch, but I graduated from Villanova up in Philly, and I wanted to move to San Diego, but that was a bit of a stretch. So Orlando was my second choice. And so I had, at the time, my on-campus dorm room, I had a 65-inch Mitsubishi Diamond rear projection, those monsters.
Yeah, we had one. We had one of the Mitsubishis.
It was like
my dad
400 pounds. Well, I had that in my dorm room. Like, it covered up the whole window. It was awesome. Like, I was famous because of this.
Yeah.
And so when I graduated Villanova, I wanted to move to San Diego, and I was working on the particulars of it, but Orlando was the backup. And I had a roommate, and he was dirty, and I'm super clean, and I got kicked out of my house for being too clean.
Wow.
His brother owned the house.
Tom got kicked out for being too clean.
So his brother owned the
Twinkies.
house.
Okay.
And he was a year younger than me, and he's like, "Look, man, you gotta go."
Is it because you were bitching at everybody for being too dirty?
Yeah. I'm doing all the dishes. It's kind of like you live around here, Daniel.
Well, I remember that though. I remember when I lived with 4 other dudes on Crescent Beach in St. Augustine.
Dudes are disgusting.
Yeah, like one guy, and he, man, I don't think he's ever forgiven me for this. His name was Chris. We lived with him. He would leave the condoms that he fucked in under the bed. So, and then we'd switch the master bedroom out every 3 months or so.
Right. Yeah.
And it was my turn to go in there. I'm like, this is the fucking bedroom smells like fish house. Because all these condoms are under the bed. So I took his Sultan sandwich maker, the one where you could like take 2 pieces of bread and fuse them together and fill it with goodness on the inside, like almost like making your own Hot Pocket. And I jumped off the balcony. And I ran to the ocean, and I threw it into the ocean out of anger. So I could never make a sandwich. I was like, well, you're going to leave condoms, I'm going to kill your Sultan
that
sandwich
doesn't
maker.
turn out so well.
No. We eventually parted ways, and to this day, I don't think he hates me.
Well, my roommate, there were 4 of us that lived there. 2 of us were really clean, 2 of us were dirty. He was from India, and his parents... So this was my senior year in college, and in the summer between junior and senior year, his parents showed up, like straight from India, and they lived there with us. He just left us out. They lived there with us, and it's Indian custom that they generally sleep in the same bed. And so him and his parents, like the whole family, just stayed in one room. They never came out. But then they would come out during the day when we weren't there, and they'd cook curry crazy. And so I got to one point where, and this is probably where I got in trouble, where I was tucking like wet towels under my door because all my clothes smelled like curry. The whole house.
Yeah.
And so I probably caused a big stink. And he's like, "Look, bro, you gotta go."
Well, technically they were
the bigger stink.
The bigger stink is the curry. Curry will get you. Like, I made homemade pho over the weekend, and our entire home right now smells like those spices.
And curry smells like BO a little bit.
It has elements of that. You ever boiled beef bones? Like, we probably not, because you live in primarily a vegetarian house. To make this soup I was making over the weekend, I had to boil these beef bones, and then you pre-boil them to get the scum off the top, and man... For a while there, for a split second, it smelled like a dog's asshole. And I'm like, am I doing this right? Do I want to do this? But eventually I even read, and the recipe is like, will smell like a dog's asshole. I'm like, okay, all right, everything's fine.
So, Matt, not to get ahead of ourselves, but you...
Smells like, what do you call it? Anal glands.
And a lot of our listeners have watched Obsessed Garage, but just by the name, you can kind of realize that you... maybe you're not obsessive compulsive, but you tend to have the personality type of that.
Well, right, at that time I wasn't diagnosed. I mean, since then I've been diagnosed and medicated. We talked about this on the other episode. But I'm highly organized. I mean, think of... Remember back in the day, we still have them now, but there's Hot Wheels.
Yes.
And then there are Matchbox cars.
Yes.
Well, me at 4 years old, I preferred Matchbox cars.
Better made car.
Superior,
It's a better made car.
And so normal kids would go and crash their cars in the dirt. Well, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I would line them up.
How pissed were you when the die-cast had chipped a little bit of the paint?
That would never happen.
Yeah, see, it would drive me insane.
Yeah.
I wouldn't let that
I would
happen.
detail it. I would repaint my fucking Matchbox.
Yeah.
But I would, I didn't want to play with them. I wanted to organize them, and then I would distill it down into the next grouping of 10, and then that day I would choose which one was going to go in my garage, that day. Right? And so I'm, a 5-year-old maniac, doing this.
Yeah, I know. This is why I like having Matt in, because him and Daniel have so much in common when it comes to that.
I'm not even close to even touching him, but I can understand it.
Yes,
you know what I mean? I
can't even understand.
I'm talking to a guy that obsessively cleaned his cheek to the bone with his fucking tongue.
Yeah.
This is my tongue garage. It's my obsessed tongue garage. My new company.
Don't say tongue garage.
So keep it.
So you've always had that, personality trait where
we'll call it a tendency.
A tendency, where it's obsessive compulsive, to the point where back in college you got kicked out of your house because you're like, I can't live with this person. I can imagine with Daniel, me and Daniel could never live in the same house.
Oh, I think we could, man. We've done hotel rooms for extended stays, and you're not bad.
No, but eventually. You can handle me for a couple days.
You'd have painter's tape down the middle of the house.
Yeah.
Well, it's
demarcation.
I'm trying to think if there was anything that I saw that I was like, that's a little weird.
Well,
you do have a lot of floaters when you take poo-poo.
Well, not to
a lot of little dust.
Not to get inappropriate with Matt, but he's a listener to the show, so I feel comfortable. I do not have boxers on right now.
What?
Yes.
Would you poop your pants?
No.
Hey, I pooped my pants last week. Twice.
I stayed at Gaylord Palms last night.
Lord, Paul, gay. Lord, Paul, extra gay.
So we took the kids out to ice and all that. I forgot to pack myself boxers.
Nice.
So,
do you have on tiny shorts? Can we see your...
Yeah, my wife mentioned, she's like, do not let your guest...
don't let Samantha see it.
Look up your short
over here.
Everything in my power to look.
Now I'm gonna always look down. Now I'm gonna be.
I'm looking to see if his dad balls.
No. So anyway, that's
I could have bought some on the way.
Luckily, the shorts are tight enough that nothing.
Yeah, he wears a little shorts.
Dude, you know that I had no time because I literally we left the hotel with exact enough time to get here right before Matt got here. I think but there's no I'm not organized. I'm not scheduled. Anyway.
I was here 35 minutes early.
Anyway, so after college...
So I'm kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
I packed my stuff. This is the only spontaneous thing I've ever done in my life. I packed my crap and rolled. I came down. So when I was in college, I flunked fundamentals of electrical engineering too, because when you went to college, especially like Villanova was really hard to get into, and in high school I just showed up and took the test. But in college, especially engineering school, it's really hard. It's harder than I am smart.
Yeah. You actually had to work at it.
I didn't know what that even meant. And so my freshman year, I flunked the course, and Villanova's $40,000 a year, and my parents are...
That's a big boy school.
Yeah, lower middle class, and I was borrowing money to go there. They were paying some of it, but a very small percentage. And so a fifth year...
That's cool of them, though. I mean...
He's awesome, yeah.
At least you had that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of kids don't.
But a fifth year was not going to happen.
Gotcha.
So I had to stay between my sophomore and junior year to stay on track, to take a course.
Put a little extra in between.
Right. I had to retake that class because I didn't want to get behind. Because in engineering school, you don't have electives. You might have one.
It's all kind of lined up for you.
Yeah, it's 18 to 20 credit hours,
sure.
And you're stacked from start to finish. And so I took the course in the summer, and so I had to go get a job. Attempting to just make enough money to pay, because I remember it was $3,750 room, board, and tuition to take that one course for that summer, and so I had to get a job there because we lived 2.5 hours away, and so my parents did, And so I went to Bally Total Fitness and Tower Records, and I made a fancy resume and I dropped it off. And I was going to get a job, and I actually got a job at Bally Total Fitness, like cleaning the machines or something. It was like it was $6 an hour. This would have been what 99, 2000.
Yeah.
And I dropped my resume off at Bryn Mawr Stereo. And I'm one of my best friends to this day. I remember handing my resume to him, and he just scoffed at me, like, "Who's this douche? You know, his freaking resume to come to a stereo store." And I dropped it. I was at engineering student and all this janitor and all this stuff.
You don't even know what a fucking blah punk is.
And so I took the job at Bally. The manager of the store called me and said, "Bro, don't take that job. Just come hear me out." And so they had me come over and said, you know, "What do you know about car stereo?" Him and the car stereo manager. And I knew frickin' everything because I wanted to buy it all. Like, I wanted it all.
Yeah.
And so, like, I had Crutchfield catalog and J&R Music World, and I would just shop the catalog. That's just what I
It was
would
always
do.
surprising to me in middle school and high school when my friends would bring said Crutchfield catalog. And even right now, you saying that, I got goosebumps a little bit because I probably take this to my grave. I always think Crutchfield is a catalog of crutches. That's how fucking stupid I am. Like, when anybody says Crutchfield, I go, the crutch. No, stereos. Like, it happens every time in my brain.
So I have this uncanny ability to memorize specifications, right? So all the specs of every Alpine, every Eclipse,
You knew it.
I knew it cold. Yeah. I didn't know they were going to ask me this, but they asked me, "Okay, so tell me about Alpine head units," and I'm like dropping knowledge,
ding.
And they said, "Okay, here's what we're looking for. We're looking for a part-time stereo salesman, but mainly we need somebody to take care of the stock room, you know, so to clean it up, and we'll pay you $8 an hour to do that, and then you can make some commission when you're messing with the, you know, when you're filling in on the stereo sales floor.
Cool.
But your main job is going to be the stock room."
Yeah, keeping it organized and running well.
I was like, "This is great. I'm perfectly suited for that. I'll have this place spick and span. It'll be fantastic."
Yeah.
And so the first day I come in, they're like, "Well, the truck isn't coming until like Thursday," so I think it was like, you know, whatever, a Monday or Tuesday or something like that. And they're like, "Just go stand there and learn something." And so they had two rooms. There was the high-end room and the low-end room, and then there was all the AV stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But I was a car stereo, so they segregated. You either sold car stereos or you sold home theater. Like, it was two different jobs.
Yeah.
You wouldn't cross over.
Never cross over.
Yeah, no. And so I'm standing there the first day, and the dude walks in, and I just start dropping knowledge on him. He's like, you know, just talking to him like you and I were talking about something that I was super passionate about. And at the end of that, at the end of it, I told him everything you needed: the wiring harness, the head unit, the separates in the door, subwoofer. It was a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and he said, "Okay, I'll take it." And it was like $4,800, $5,000 for this system, which in car stereo was at the time was a crap ton of cash.
This guy's going hard,
right? And he said, "Okay, I'll take
blow some bikini tops off of that."
And at the end, I didn't have a number, like I didn't know how to punch it in the system, and so the managers pulls me aside while the car stereo sales manager was all hacked off because he just lost his sale, or so he thought.
Yeah.
And so the main manager's like, "Dude, what's going on here?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just freaking told the guy what I wanted to buy, and he bought it." And the guy said, "All right, you're not going to be the stockroom guy. You're going to sell." And so I went from, you know, I grew up in Hazleton, Pennsylvania, which is lower middle class old coal mining town.
Yeah.
And I would one of my jobs in college was I'd go home for like fall break and I would organize a dumpster for a general contractor, like so you could fit more stuff in
of the dumpster.
Yeah.
That's an interesting job.
I'm gonna put this raccoon in the corner. But you stay over
just
there.
like a Tetris, like.
He would pay me like $5 an hour, right? And so I could fit more junk in the dumpster, so you would have to pay less.
Gotcha.
So I went from that. So I'd make like $80 like for the fall break.
Yeah.
To making commission.
I like how these people are using you like Rain Man instead of like gambling. They're like, "Hey, organize this dumpster."
Yeah.
His brain is.
I promise you, I'm not making this stuff up. This is real. Like, this is legit.
So the dumpster wasn't like, I guess so, having anything organized can help you. Yeah.
So I would have $80, and I'm in Villanova. This is the main line of Philadelphia. It makes Winter Park with poor. And I'm this poor kid in this really rich area. And like I'd have like $80 a semester. That's like what I had. like to try to ration.
Sure.
Because I had meal plan and all that was borrowed money.
Yeah.
And so I went from that to commission, and you want to talk about, it was like rocket fuel. I'm like, wait, I can make this much if I sell that much?
Yeah.
And so that first year I made, I think it was $55,000. I'm 19 years old.
Wow.
I went from having $100 to making 50 G's, and I freaking bought everything.
Yeah, and
I bought big screen TV, subwoofer crazy, everything you'd ever want as a 20-year-old.
I think everybody kind of did that. Like
but
I think
this is
the
why
minute you start making a little bit of money, you make some.
Still waiting on that day.
Some purchases.
Well, it's interesting to me because you figured out what your personality could do for you.
Yeah,
and that's it's weird.
I thought salesman was salesman, like type A. I'm type C, very introverted. Like I didn't look the guy in the eye when I was selling him the stereo.
You're looking at the stereo, talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you knew
you
knew all the knowledge, and because
the guy
of
who
your
must have felt comfortable with your intelligence,
obsessive
your
compulsive ways, you just knew everything because you researched it all, and then people are like, oh, I like that.
I was passionate about it. It was what I wanted to own, and I just believed that, and this is the theme of my life, is I believed that if I wanted it, that other people would want it too. And I didn't know this, but I would vet it more than anybody. I thought everybody did that. I thought everybody would do the same amount of research that I did. And so,
oh no! But, it's funny because our personalities. Even though I love talking to you, Matt, because even before you got here, Daniel, we were talking like business and just ideas and stuff. I'm passionate about that. We're talking, but as far as personality types, couldn't be further from apart from literally. I buy shit.
Well, he has on underwear. Start there.
You're right. And
the guy's got fucking underwear on. That's a big start.
I buy stuff with no research. Don't give a shit. Whatever I did, that kind of thing.
You buy a lot of high-end. He buys a lot of high-end electronics and a lot of high-end like stuff that, like his one wheel, for instance.
I don't even know how to use it.
He bought it like used, and like for me, I'm like, that's a scam. That person fucking ragged that thing out. It's a piece of shit now. Get it new where it wasn't abused, and I think I was wrong. I think your one wheel's actually doing okay, but it's one of those things where that would drive me crazy. Like, how did the owner before me treat this thing? Did they abuse it? Is it going to die on me in a couple of weeks?
So Matt, I wanted not to fast forward too much, but like you're obviously killing it at sound advice, and then when do you go into the Merrill Lynch and into the trading aspect of it? Because that's seemingly the entire, you go from stereos to...
Well, so this is part of the reason why my best friends I don't manage their money, because they remember me back when, I made 50 grand and bought a Honda Civic and put a $20,000 stereo into it. They called it Mormonomics. And so I this sort of threading the story here, my Indian roommate kicked me out. I moved down to Orlando, packed my crap, rolled, came to Sound Advice, was killing it. Just transitioned to home theater. I was doing a lot of really high-end custom. I did $150,000 dedicated theaters and stuff in Isleworth and and Keens Point and a lot of because I was at the one by the Florida Mall.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was making like $100 grand at 22 years old, selling the coolest frickin' stuff to a maniac like me.
And it was fun for you though, because you got to almost like you're picking these things out for people and kind of designing what they're doing. I can see the correlation of what you do now.
And like Monster Cables, Monster Cable had a 16-digit SKU, and there were several hundred of them. I had 80% of them memorized. Like I had the SKUs memorized.
That's
he is Rainman.
50644 was what they all started with, and then component video cables, and then we didn't have HDMI at the time. I was the guy that they would put on the phone to troubleshoot, and it was
I do some of that stuff. It's annoying.
I was never.
I know certain,
But see, remember, this is commission, so you get paid for what you sell, not your time. But I didn't care about any of that. I just knew that I would sell enough, and so all these guys would pawn off the people to me, like when they were having problems with hooking up their Yamaha receiver or something like that. I would be happy to get on the phone and talk to them for 30 minutes to teach them, because it made me feel good that I could fix their problem.
Yeah.
And then that guy who I fixed it never came back to the original guy who thought he was screwing me.
Come back to you.
They come to me.
Sure. Yeah.
And so what happened in these stores is people would walk in. So this is the Merrill Lynch story.
Okay.
People would walk in, And the dude sitting in the front would say, "Can I help you?" And of course, what do you say? "No, I'm just looking."
Yeah.
Right? That's what they teach in Sales Training 101. Don't ever ask, "Can I help you?" Because everybody's going to say the same thing. "I'm just looking." It's a canned response.
That's why I ask, "Hey, are you just looking?" And they go, "Yeah," and I go, "All right."
Yes,
He's that's bad.
So this guy walks in, and I remember to this day, like I was staging, like I was getting all the cables and all the stuff ready for a big install that was going down. I didn't do the installs, but I sold it, and I was running around getting everything organized, and this dude's looking at a Pioneer Elite, plasma.
That's what I have.
Yeah. So that's,
they don't make them anymore.
The
but
best TV, right? Best display ever built. And so I think, was it Logic Man? You were talking about a $6,000.
Yes.
TV
Well,
the other
let me
day.
correct. I don't have a Pioneer Elite. I have the Panasonic version that was made after they eliminated Pioneer.
Yep.
It's the same display.
It's the Panasonic VT series, VT or ZT series.
This guy, he fucking knows.
No,
This guy. Oh, I
I
have.
have one in my garage, like in my.
I can't get rid of it. It's such a great TV.
Hey, I got a Westinghouse.
Fun of him so bad he went and bought a TV at Westinghouse. We didn't even know Westinghouse made TV.
They make
So
good
now-
water filtration.
Right now.
They really do. It's
We can have
TV's water is. Mwah.
We can deal with TVs later, but you should. LG OLED is the
Oh, yeah.
current best display. So anyway, this dude's looking at this TV, and I walked up to him, and I didn't ask him, "Can I help you?" Because I knew somebody else already did that. I just started talking to him about the display, and just dropping knowledge on him. And so by the end of it, he's like, "Look, man, you're really good at this. Like you do a lot like what I do." Where I take these complex topics and I explain it to people, and then I help them with it. And I'm like, he's like, would you be interested in in talking to me about a position? I said, I'm not interested in that. I mean, I'm making 100 G's, dude. I got a red S2000 with bronze wheels on it. This thing's freaking sick. I mean,
Yeah.
we got I got.
You're young and you're also doing stuff you like.
I had a 60-inch. The 60-inch Pioneer was like 20 grand. I had that on my wall at my house. I'm like, this is, I'm not interested in that. I'm doing great. And even though all my buddies had gone to work for Lockheed Martin and Unisys, and they're making 60 grand as starting engineers, and I'm making 100 doing the coolest stuff in the world. And so he came back and bought the system from me. It wasn't crazy, but we had 24 months same as interest financing, or same as cash financing, so interest-free financing. And you had to fill out the credit app, and in the bottom right-hand corner there was a spot where you had to write, "What is your income?" And it was either monthly, / annually, and you had to circle one of them.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't circle it, and I had to ask him. I said, "Is that per month or is that per year?" He said, no, that's per month. And so I took his card. It's like, $50,000, something crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
God damn.
holy crap, and I'm like, I took his card, and then I started the process of getting.
So all it
he
took
worked
was
for Merrill Lynch.
all it took was seeing what he made per month on his.
Yeah.
I was like, I had no concept of what that even meant, other than Shaq would come in our store, and and Tiger Woods would come in the store. So I had an idea of what.
But celebrities will make. Yeah.
Right.
But not this guy. You don't even know who he is, and he's
Right.
making 50 G's a month.
Right, and I was like, holy
So
crap.
that guy's like the ultimate salesman. Like, you probably did that on purpose just to get your attention.
Well, he was a manager, so he ran the office, but then had his own client base. Right?
Yeah.
And he was a lot like me. He actually, believe it or not, was an English lit major at English lit degree from UF.
Oh wow.
But he, he actually, his story, he went to jail for selling. He sold the most pot in Lake County or something like that.
Good
And so,
salesman.
Yeah.
he had a fruit stand where they sold drugs, and so he had gone to jail, and then
Is that where they sell drugs? At fruit stands?
back in the day,
Yeah.
They don't sell fruit.
This is, back in the 70s, that's
Yeah.
And so he became, and this is a theme of my life. I've never looked for it or sought it out, but I've always had like a mentor, somebody that I just modeled and did whatever the heck he said, within reason.
Yeah.
And so I went from, I did, what was it, 13 interviews at Merrill over a year and 3/4. So once I decided I'm going to do it, I'm going to freaking do this. But they didn't want me to do it. Merrill hires people that are 35 years old.
Yeah.
They hire second career people. They're looking for people that are, that have some life experience. Like,
Sure.
First of all, I'm a poor kid from Pennsylvania, and I'm in Florida. I don't know anybody with any money other than the people that I sold theater stuff to. and that correlation doesn't connect. Your stereo guy doesn't get the manager money. Right?
Yeah.
And so I kept interviewing. I kept saying something right because they kept having me come back, and then they said, "Well, we're not hiring right now. Come back later." And what I found out was that because this guy Jim was pushing for me to get the job, what I found out was that they kept saying he's smart. Seems like he knows how to talk to people. But he looks like Opie Taylor.
No.
Yeah.
No, you guys are saying, "Oh, I didn't know who Opie Taylor was at the time."
You're not an Andy Griffith fan.
I'm not.
Didn't grow up on that. Yeah.
And so I think what finally got me the job is once I figured that out, I Googled it, at the time. And
Please tell me you walked in wearing one of those hats that's like a visor with a spiky old man gray hair, and they're like, you know what? We like you now.
What I said, well, Opie Taylor's Ron Howard now, and he's a pretty successful dude. So why don't you give me a shot at this, right?
Yeah.
And a clip-on ponytail.
Yeah, and I think the second time back I came with a shirt that fit and everything too. So that probably helped. But so first day I start at Merrill Lynch, I get a call and they say, "Look, you can't. You're making $40,000." So I went from making 110, 120, and growing massively to I'm 25. I was about to get, or 24. I was about to get married, and we were buying a house. We're going to build a house out in Claremont, and they gave me the call and said, "Look, you're making 40, but it has to be 39,999." So it was like a swift kick right in the nuts. The whole I made this decision to make the choice, and it just didn't feel right because when you go and become a financial advisor, it's very different in that when you're selling TVs, people walk in your store. When you're selling financial or providing financial advice, there isn't anybody. It's crickets. They give you a desk, they give you a phone, and they say figure it out.
Really? There's no leads?
No leads. No, the lead is the Hill Donnelly Street Directory, which is the phone book.
So you just got to go find your own customers.
Yeah.
That's it.
Which is a weird thing because you're essentially asking strangers to give you the chance to manage their money, their life savings.
It's very personal, yeah. I can see it.
It's absolutely brutal.
And
the worst 5 years of my life at the beginning.
It's the cold calling. Did you cold call? Is that how you had to do it?
Wow. The thing about me and
Tom hates cold calling, by the way.
Me and Daniel's
for me.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Me and Daniel's financial advisor is Bernie, which is Stephen Kramer's father-in-law.
Yeah.
He's an older gentleman. He's very
big hands,
reserved,
big dick.
He's been
Not crazy like Kramer.
He's been
no.
He's been working.
Although I think Kramer thinks his dick is as big as his. There's no way.
He's been working here for like 20 years as a job, so like he's got a certain amount of experience.
You can see like the plaques over the years of what he's accomplished.
So,
and even he's probably still out looking for cultivating.
Yeah.
It's easier as because then you get referrals. And
because he's got a history, and we know he's solid, and that's where we choose. Like, and okay, now we'll trust him to. So we're you.
So now imagine 25-year-old Mormonomics here. Right?
Yeah.
Driving a red S2000 with bronze Volk, CE28 end wheels on it, and just and showing up at Merrill Lynch. Now I hired a stylist to dress me properly. Blue suit, red tie.
Girl or guy?
A girl.
And were you dropping did you drop a hefty amount of dough?
Well,
to
in the
get
beginning,
your wardrobe?
we went to Men's Warehouse. Right?
By
the end,
you like the way you look.
right. By the end, I don't wear suits anymore.
Yeah.
But by the end, I had Tom James.
Kramer's
trade tailor. I had a tailor. I had $3,000 suits. That I was wearing.
That's what you got to do.
Because you got to.
Tom and I got to buy one get one.
So I thought.
We're kind of good, but still a little.
You got to project success for people to trust you.
Yeah, for that suit, they got to go back out in the car. Like, hold on, let me go get the.
Yeah.
They get the dust off.
Yeah, these are the
$480 suits.
Yeah.
So how the hell? Well, first, I don't even understand how financial advisors make money.
Yep.
I'm
going to teach you, Tom.
Okay, yeah. Because what I like about Matt is he's not afraid to throw numbers out.
Yeah.
And I like that too because
it's uncomfortable for some people though.
It is uncomfortable, but
it is.
But for Matt and me, I was like, oh,
it's just a fact.
This is the reality, and I think it's interesting for other people. But so. How do financial advisors make money?
So most firms are similar. So the big companies, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, UBS, you choose to go to a Merrill Lynch or a Morgan Stanley because you write your own ticket. The disadvantage is that you don't make any money in the beginning, right? That you start from zero. They don't give you clients or here's a book to work or whatever you want to call it. So they paid the way it was set up is there was a salary. It was $39,900. So I got paid. So this was 2004. And I had 24 months to gather $15 million in assets. Right, so I had to find a way to gather. It's insane.
That sounds very difficult.
Yeah,
it's brutal. And so
I'm sure you hit up your friends and family first. So that's what they tell you.
No, nobody has any money.
Yeah, all your family's poor. Yeah.
Right. So I started with strangers, and so when I got hired, I had a choice to come to Winter Park, which was where I wanted to be because it's awesome.
That's where they got money too.
I wanted to be, or the Villages. It was actually Leesburg. Now Jim, my mentor, was in Leesburg, and he's like, "Look, I don't know who you're going to call Winter Park, but there's a lot more financial advisors per capita in Winter Park than there are in the Villages."
For sure. Yeah.
And the Villages was a quarter of the size it is today, and so I drove up there and I drove through it doing engineer math, and I calculated and I figured out who am I going to call and what am I going to say, and so I chose the Villages. Old people have money.
Yeah.
They do indeed.
And so I made the choice I was living in Claremont. Actually, I was living in Windermere, and then we moved to Claremont shortly thereafter. I got married, and so I was commuting to Leesburg and then doing seminars and wine tastings and stuff in the Villages. And so the way that I started was, there's an old book from this guy, his name's Nick Murray, where you would it's drip marketing. And so what I did is I created a script. And the script was, "Hi, this is Matt. I'm a financial advisor. We're in Leesburg. We're moving up to the Villages soon, very very soon. What I'm doing is I'm putting together a retirement newsletter for people in the area. There's no cost or obligation to you. Would you like to be on it?" And I said, "Look, I'm not going to stick your junk in your mailbox." So I would do the younger version of me, where I would just have a real conversation instead of just pitching. So I was pretty good at kind of feeling out what people were going to say, but I was literally shaking, scared to death, sweating, hated life, wanted to jump off the roof head first every single day. And my goal, I wanted to make 400 dials a day. I probably averaged 200 because some days I just wouldn't do it, or there'd be like a week. And what I would do is I'd put all this pressure on myself to say, okay, I missed today, I gotta make 800 dials tomorrow.
Oh.
And it was just this.
That's what we do with everything.
Yeah,
we just keep pushing it aside until eventually it's you're wanted by the IRS.
And so I would have to restart and reinvigorate over and over and over again. But I got some traction. I would get people that would say, "Yeah, sure, I'll take the mail," and then I would send them something really insightful. I'd hand addressed everything. It got to the point where I had 1,800 people on my list that I had
That's a lot.
compiled, and I hand addressed every envelope. I set it up to where I would eventually quarterly, so I'd send them something quarterly, I would call them quarterly, and I would leave them alone, once a month. So month 1, 2, 3, I would call, leave alone, invite them to something.
The hand addressing thing is a big deal because I notice now that a lot of mail comes
that fake hand address,
I fucking hate that, man. I'm like, just get it, just do it.
Yeah. And
it's not. Is it really saving that much time?
So
it probably
24
is.
hours a day, 7 days a week. I had
it
envelopes.
Looks like crap.
I had envelopes with me everywhere I went. I was constantly hand addressing. It was never ending. I did it all myself, all my own handwriting. But what I did is I listened to what Jim said. So the money management aspect of it is just a small part, because when you start, you have to get your Series 7, your Series 66, your life, health, variable annuities. You have to take all these tests. And remember, I'm an engineer. So in engineering school, you go to class and you look at them like, I have no idea what you just said. And then they give you a homework assignment and you look at it and you're like, I don't know what there's imaginary J and I. Like, I isn't enough. We need a J. There's 2 imaginary numbers. So complicated, so difficult that like I would go to class and I had no idea what they were talking about. Now in business, it's a freaking joke. It's like, okay, you got to take this test and get an 85. All I have to do is read it. Like, I don't have to go meet with anybody and then collaborate and attempt to figure out these imaginary numbers. It's like, read this sentence and memorize it. And I'm like, this is great. So now
that's how your brain works.
I went from being like a mediocre to like the smartest dude on the planet in business, right? And so I just ate it up. And so while I'm cold calling, I'm studying. I think I have 37 letters behind my name, with all these different designations. Not because of the vanity of it, but because I'm like, I need to know everything there is to possibly know about this in order to be able to have a conversation with you about your money. And so I became a certified financial planner in 8 months and a chartered investment analyst, all these different...
Were you surprised how others in that industry...
Yeah, they're freaking idiots.
yeah.
Like, literally the dumbest people you've ever met are the ones that are responsible for everybody's life savings.
That's crazy.
But they're charismatic, and they hug you and look at, warm and fuzzy.
But behind the scenes, you're like, oh my god, this guy's
That's
morons.
in every company.
It is in every
you
company.
You can't hug, though, now. I've been rethinking my hug policy, because it's Trump's America now. You hug now, next thing you know, you're jacking off into a plant.
But Matt,
put your dick out everywhere. You can't do that. No hugs. I don't even give handshakes now. Elbows.
It is interesting.
High five.
Because sometimes...
thumbs up.
As how bad I am at everything. I mean, I got no underwear on right now.
You don't have to keep saying that.
I do sometimes. I'm surprised when I meet with sometimes other business owners and stuff like that, and I'm like,
meet them with no underwear on?
and they may be thinking the same thing about me, but I'm like,
the conversation.
I'm like, how is this person?
You'd be a killer financial advisor.
No, I don't know.
Literally would kill it.
I mean, he's right under Bernie as far as I'm not seeing it.
Because it's about relationship, right? And some, whether there's substance or not, it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
So there's relationship. But I immersed myself into, and this is where I got sort of a lucky balance in that I'd learned how to sell by messing around with stereos, right? I learned how to talk to people. I learned how to hustle, and because I cleaned dumpsters. I knew what hard work really was. I've been a janitor. I've worked, just like a lot of us have as a younger guy.
Sure.
And so I knew what hard work was. I was scared of the phone, but I knew that if I hit the numbers, that I could probably talk people into doing something smart. And then I immersed myself into becoming an expert.
Man, it's that knowledge that, to go back to what you're talking about, the fact that you were like, oh, all I got to do is read this and just gather all this information and soak it up. I kind of do that. Tom and I have talked about that, how when it comes to our company, I love that. Like, there's no, and he makes fun of me for it, and it's just the way I'm wired, but, let's say a new iPhone or a new car, I get a fucking boner thinking about running upstairs and getting a shower and getting perfectly clean, combing my hair, putting pajamas on, clean pajamas, putting on some nice jazz, and then sitting in my lazy boy with the new manual for my car.
That's
and learning every ounce.
Yeah.
Every little bit, like my drone, I read the entire manual. This phone, read the entire manual. This computer, any Twitch. Now that we're on Twitch, read all the FAQs, everything. Read everything top to bottom. I don't know.
But the fact that you have a ritual and prepare.
Oh yeah, I gotta be clean. I want to be clean when I open my manual, and then I open it. I give it a big crease. So it's like I love it. Fucking love it.
It's funny because Matt is basically telling our audience kind of how to be successful, and there really is that way of hey, if you work your ass off, and then whatever industry you get into, you just become a fucking pro at it and become the best at it. But it's so hard.
But you do it with certain things.
Reading the manual to me is so excruciating that.
But you'll get. But for fantasy football or something that you give a damn about, you'll put in your headphones and listen to 9 podcasts.
Gambling, yeah. Now my new thing is I'm obsessed with gambling, and I won $350 over the weekend.
The guy won $350. Now we have a BDM gambling group. So
I don't have my financial advisor addicted to gambling.
That's why I'm not. And Matt, we were talking about that earlier. He's
like, literally never gambled a penny in my life.
He can't do it because you'd be, or maybe you'd be.
I'm guessing he's going to close the group when he blows that $350. This didn't work.
When it comes to financial advising and Merrill Lynch and stuff, you just literally set out to know as much as you can and to get all the certifications.
And this is the magic of, say, Daniel, who's a savant at at editing and producing and audio quality and all that passion you have for the stuff. There still has to be the other side of the equation. You eventually have to get on the mic and talk.
Yes.
Then you have to have some talent, right?
Yeah.
And so there are many, many, many people that come into like engineers or former doctors or
Sure.
Navy, military men come into the financial advising profession, but they're missing. So they study their brains out, they become an expert. But if you're an expert and there's nobody to talk to,
then
again,
it doesn't matter.
Right?
It's all about relationships.
There's a desk and a phone, and they say figure it out.
Yeah.
So that part I completely just fumbled through. I had no idea. I wasn't intentional about how I would speak to people. I just spoke to them the way I wanted to be spoken to, and I kind of got lucky. Right, lucky
You showed them a level of respect, and you were hoping that your knowledge would overcome the weirdness of the phone call. Does that sound about right?
Or the weirdness of me, the awkwardness of because at that time, and this is sort of where the story's going, but I really understand myself more now. And I understand that if you do you, then people gravitate toward it. Like, if I came in here and was sitting in front of you guys and talking about how much money I made and all this stuff, it wouldn't have the same...
It's not going to translate.
I would like you more if you did that.
But human beings, at the core, we can tell if someone's bullshitting or someone's being themselves.
Yep.
And that's really like, even on the radio or podcast or whatever, you can hear as a listener, you can hear someone if they're fucking fake or if they're being themselves. And being yourself, I think all human beings just want to talk to someone who's real. And
like
at
Chris
the very
Fisher
core,
from BYOCB podcast, always fake.
but
Don't say that.
listen,
100%. There's
but-
I don't hear.
He's gonna be mad.
I hear nothing authentic there. I don't know who the real person is.
and that's the thing. No matter what it is, whether the person's, even if the person's inside like a dickhead or braggadocious or whatever it is, people will listen to him if that's who they are.
Do you know that when I was a child at Easter, I had a small puffy chicken with plastic legs that I named Little Baby Docious? True story.
So Matt, and so you're at this point in Merrill Lynch. I imagine just like the sound advice days, you start killing it. And
well, in the beginning, I'm doing okay. I'm gathering what needs to be gathered. I'm staying on track. And so the way that they had set it up, where, and this is where I didn't. To answer your question, I didn't kill it. I did enough to survive, and that's what it's like. You just want to survive as a financial advisor because you start. There's a 90% attrition rate, so only about 10% actually make it to, say, 10 years in the industry. Lots of people try it, and they want to do it because you can make lots of money, but most people fail because of whether it's they studied too much and didn't go reach people, or they didn't study enough and they couldn't convince anybody to do it.
I'm sure there's a burnout factor too.
I mean, these companies don't hire people that don't have talent. People come in and they just don't do it. They don't work. It's hard. It's hard to pick up the phone. It's hard to go out and meet people. It's hard to do that. And so I knew that if I had to go work a room, I couldn't do it. And so I knew that I could make the dials, and I knew that I could read a script and make it sound like I wasn't reading it. And so I'm gathering and I'm hitting like every other goal. As long as you hit every other, you can kind of hang in there. And so I'd get a bonus, and then the next month I'd miss it, and then I get a bonus. And I literally gathered 14 million, like it was like $875,000. And one of the guys in the office really liked me. He wanted to give me an account, and so he gave me, it was like a $200,000 account that he wasn't, somebody he didn't really have a connection with. Introduced me to them and said, "Here, you can serve this client." And so I graduated by like the skin of my teeth, and it was a difference of you're fired, or
really
you're good to go.
Wow, even if you got that close, they'd be like, "Sorry."
that's
they'll let you stay, but
Pressure.
they give you and I'll explain how a financial advisor gets paid here in a second. But you'd get like a 20% payout, and so you wouldn't be able to survive. You'd be making like $15,000 a year.
Gotcha.
And so because when you graduate, you have 2 more years where you're on this special grid that they set up to help.
This sounds terrible.
Yeah.
To help you survive, help you live.
But I guess it's really no different than when you and I were in the ratings world and doing radio, and how
there's metrics you gotta hit. Yeah.
Living and dying by the numbers that are all fucking fake.
Aside from those are real dollars that we're talking about, not just fake fucking ratings.
So remember, at this time, there's Merrill Lynch Matt, and then there's Matt, right? And I thought I had to be Merrill Lynch Matt. Like I thought I had to have a so I had cheap suits, but I had to make them look as expensive as possible. And that's how I thought all this stuff. You know?
Was it like the Wolf of Wall Street kind of mentality too? Was it like
no, very
of,
different.
Okay.
Because we're generally dealing with, again, people's life savings, not their gambling money.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So a little different idea. So what I did is I would call. And then let's say that I called you and you said, yeah, I'll take the mail. And then I'd invite you to like a golf lesson or something like that. Or eventually what you're hoping to do is catch money when it's in motion. Catch you when you leave your job.
Yeah.
But now I'm calling most of retirees at the time. And so I'm looking for them to like get mad at their financial advisor or something like that. Or for me to say something good so that way they come in. So you'd come in and I'd get to know you. I'd profile you. I'd have a sheet of paper and I'd sit and we'd have a conversation. I was really, really, really good at that.
I'm like, right, Tom, have a seat. I'm right there, mustache. Mustache.
Yeah.
No, I would sit down. I would
underwear.
figure out what you're passionate about, and I would share what I'm passionate about. And I was never afraid to say, "Hey, man, you should probably go shop around." I mean, just make sure that you're vetting me. Make sure that I'm not BSing you. I'd be super real with people. Again, it wasn't intentional. It's just all I knew how to do. And so I would profile you, and then I'd have you come back, and then we would do a financial plan where I'd project into the future. How much money you got now, how much are you saving, and I'd tell you how much I thought you needed, and we'd reorganize your life. And so I would take and organize you, and then the third meeting I'd have you come back, and then we'd talk about how to manage the money. And so now I get to tell you about the stereo, right? I get to tell you about all the specs, all the details, and I was really, even better at that. That was my skill set. I'm terrible at getting somebody in the door, but I was
Once
really,
I got
really
you,
good.
then
Yeah.
Right, most people would. If we believed the same thing, they would buy in. And so, the way that the business works, so the way that your financial advisor makes money, is that you can either set it up on a commission basis, where I sell you some mutual funds or a stock or something, and I make a commission. That's a dying, almost. If it's not dead yet, it's dead.
Heading that way, yeah.
Versus a fee-based, where let's say you had $500,000, I'd charge you 1% of $500,000, and that's all you get paid every year. So I charge you, you'd pay it quarterly. So you have $500,000, I'd charge you $1,400 a quarter. And the hope was that your $500,000 would grow to $600,000 and $700,000 and $800,000.
And as you increase, you increase.
Yeah.
Right. Now the disadvantage from your perspective, the client, is that if you go to $400,000, I'm still making $4,000. But I'm not happy.
Yeah.
But you're at 100 G's and you're still paying me. But chances are you would have lost $200,000 if you didn't have me.
Gotcha.
You're Tom and you're gambling. Right? We're using Tom as a
Well, that's just
so there's
funny
no
money.
So you get that salary for 2 years and then it's gone. And so now you're relying on clients to be paying the bills. Now that $15 million that I'd gather, if it was all at 1%, I'd be doing $150,000 in revenue. I'd get half of that roughly.
Okay.
Well, it's not all what we call annuitized.
Sure.
It's not all fee based. Like grandma might have $100,000 of UPS stock or something. We're not sure. You wouldn't be charging a fee on that. You'd be charging a fee on what I'm actually choosing or what I'm investing for you.
Gotcha.
And so I built systems. So I took this guy Jim, who had this process that he'd been doing for years, and I formalized it. I ended up creating a training curriculum that I taught hundreds of other people how to do this. But I get paid squat for that. But I did it for me. I did it for me because I needed to create a system. So same thing with investing. I created systems.
Yeah.
If you called me and said, "Hey, what do you think about Tesla?" I would say, "Well, I don't think about Tesla. If it fits into the metric, it's in the metric. But otherwise, I'm not making guesses. I'm not making calls. I'm not making bets." This is where the dumbest financial advisor makes the biggest bets. No offense, Tom.
No, because that's the worst thing to do.
Right, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
But I'm super boring, and I'm an engineer in a world of pizzazz and fun and gambling and investing.
Yeah.
But there's a niche for that, and so I figured out how to connect to that niche just by cold calling. But it's horrible, and so eventually what happened is I modeled my business only more technologically advanced, if you will, than like Jim. And so Jim was in his 50s, about to reach 60s. Jim had a partner, and so when Jim retired, that partner wasn't going to be able to handle it. And so because I'd accidentally modeled after him, it made sense that as he transitioned to retirement, that I would come in and become like a junior partner on the team. And so now it's not all reliant on me to cold call and find my own clients. He has a giant client base. There was so this is where the luck comes in. You put in the work, and then you find somebody who invests in you. And so I went from growing to launch, as he transitioned to retirement. So then me and his partner became partners in Transition Gym, and eventually sort of buy him out of the practice.
Sure.
And so that took 7, 8, 9 years to 10 years so I'm 14 years in to buy him out of the practice. But that's everybody in the financial advisory profession usually has a story. Very few people build it all on their own.
Yeah. So something happens where you take advantage of the opportunity.
Right. Put in the effort, something happens.
So
advisors leave the company, you get some of their clients. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens.
Just to give us an idea, what does that financially mean for you?
Went from making 150 to 500.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of dough.
So
yeah, in it took 7 or 8 years, but yeah. So again, you're the way it works is you pay me a fee, I get half of that. Merrill Lynch keeps the other half of that, and so there's no limit. You get whatever you get. I mean, there's guys making $20 million because they're just really good at enrolling people.
Mm-hmm.
And
essentially it's all passive income, because once the investment's in there, you kind of set it and forget it.
Right. And here's the magic of it is, especially if you have younger people. Now I had older people primarily. Now I have a lot more younger people because of YouTube. But people would, their money grows. And so you have this organic growth. You go out, you find new clients, and it compounds. It's the magic of compounding, only with your income. But then in 2008, when the market, falls out, our average client lost 18 to 22%. The market's down 50 or change, so we did great. But even then, you're a client, Mrs. Jones, and you have $1 million, and you're down 200 grand, you bail.
Sure.
Right around 30% of the average client bails out of the market.
Wow.
And so our income, I think it dropped by 50% at the time.
Wow.
It was crazy change. Even though we didn't lose as much money as the markets did, we still, you deal with that.
I know we touched on this on the corporate time, but this is where I want to, because I feel like for most people, you're hearing your story and you're like, well, shit, you got it made. You're fucking making $500,000 a year.
Well, I do now. It's a freaking joke. I'm here jerking around with you guys all day. But part of it is part of what I talk to my clients about. Look, I'm obsessed. There's no way possible that you, Tom, are going to obsess over it more than I do.
Of course, yeah.
I know it's your money, and look, if you don't have any of it, you don't have any of it. It doesn't really. All I'm losing is the 1%. But I promise you that I'm up in the middle of the night more than you are about your own money.
Yeah. It's similar to going back to and people should always.
You ever rub a hole in your jaw?
Well, Daniel, my business partner, half owner of this company, I know that there's no way Daniel will ever drop the ball on something, because that's how his mind works. He's obsessed. Now, I don't know why he works with me, because
sometimes I drop the ball.
Because I think about this business all the time, but I know that Daniel is obsessed, and Daniel will wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh shit, did I edit that right? Come here in the middle of the night, check it. It'll be edited right. Of course it did. And then drive back home. That'll be 3 a.m, because it's how his brain works. And it's and so for you, it's your financial clients, you're like, this is how, I would want you to manage my money because you're crazy about it, and more than any of your clients would ever be.
But see, it's only as of recent as we transitioned to the YouTube story and everything, but I didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
I would be so fearful, and I'd be fearful to tell you that I wake up at 3 a.m. and drive over to the office and worry about your money, because I'd be afraid that you'd see me as crazy. Again, there was Merrill Lynch Matt, and there was Matt. I didn't know that people they know who I am. That's why they hired me.
Of course.
I was the only one that didn't know it.
That makes sense.
And so I was always so fearful of, there's the $2,000 suit, financial advisor Matt, and then I got to keep the Porsche, garage Matt. I got to keep him, hide him, keep him silent, keep him on the sideline.
Interesting.
And I even hired. I had Tom James. My Tom James lady would go and get me goofy shorts and polos that I freaking hated wearing that I would wear around town because I'd be afraid that somebody might see me for who I really was.
Yeah. I understand.
Which was the kid from the trailer park organizing dumpsters.
Yeah.
And I this was all subconscious. It was all hidden to me.
Yeah.
But I started to get cocky. Making 500 G's, bro.
Yeah.
I'm the man.
Yeah.
Just like I thought I was the man when I was making 100 G's selling stereos,
sure.
buying TVs. Even though I still had a $100,000 student loan, I should have paid it off 10 times over.
Yeah.
And so, because I'm engineer, because I'm smart, you're Villanova, I'm making money, I'm better than you, I don't need you, it's all me. This then transitions into the story of going crazy.
Okay, yeah. So that's now when you say going crazy, what? Because here's the thing, I feel like.
God, it'd be so good if you were like, that's when I murdered the family. I feel like it should be.
You don't know. That might be what's going on.
Well, think about it. When you see someone nude running down the street, punching himself, Coney, that didn't just happen where he was totally fine and then nude, and 1 minute later, that is a slow burn to that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and that's usually what happens in anything. Everything's a slow burn.
It started when he didn't wear underwear to his job.
Really went crazy.
Bony. So when was it after the financial crash?
No. So because I figure I started in 04 and then hit production in 05, and so I was only 3 years in. I wasn't making lots of money. I didn't make I wasn't making lots of money until probably 2011, 10, 11, 12, something like that is when Jim sort of started to transition out.
Yeah.
I was doing okay. I was making 6 figures and doing okay and growing. So I went from making 90 grand to 50 grand back up to then I really launched from there on my own, and then of course launched even more when they made me a partner. But I had become the resident director of the village's office, so I became the manager, the guy in charge, and so now, so this would have been 2012, 2010. I became the manager, and so all this is building up to douchebaggery, and that I'm like the man. No, I wasn't an outward douchebag. I was an inward douchebag.
So you just thought you were better than everybody.
Like I wasn't walking around, throwing money around.
Yeah, I've never met a black douchebag.
No. Inward.
Oh.
Inward.
I was just going along with your racistness, so you didn't beat me up because you got big muscles.
No.
Sorry.
So,
cut that out.
I don't catch this stuff.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
So, where it was now, I completely lost.
Were you're manager of the villages?
So I'm what 30 years old, 31 years old, and I'm the manager. And the managers are only 50.
Yeah.
And so now I'm my peers are 50 and 60-year-olds, and so.
Don't you love that? All my interns were like in their 20s. I'm like,
you turn
19 years old. They're like 27. People love that too. And they really respect you too when you're the younger guy. Oh, they love it.
Yeah, you turn into Ryan from The Office when he gets become the boss. You have 5 o'clock shadow suits.
You bleach your hair.
Yeah.
So I have I have partners. I've advanced the business, right? I have the managing, and so I know more than all of these guys know, or so I think.
Yeah.
And I started closing everybody out. Right, it's just me. I'm the man. Right? So I think that I don't need anybody. It's just me. I've got it all licked, right? And I didn't know any of this. This has all happened subconsciously.
Sure.
And so, in 2014? So my son is 6. My daughter's now 3. But in 2014, I wigged out. Basically what happened is I had my daughter, and like that next week, I was panicked. Like I don't know what happened. Like it was like that extra step. Like, oh man, now I'm responsible for another human.
I think that's pretty normal. I think Tom felt a little bit of that. I felt a little bit of that. I think new parents do that. I remember the first week was very difficult when we brought the kid home.
Right.
And I'm like, oh shit, this is it now. This is my life. Like this is nuts.
And so I was at I was at the Toys R Us. We were doing family photos down here in I think it was College Park. We were doing family photos, and we went to, where was it? Ryan and I went to Toys R Us, and I'm standing at Toys R Us, and like I just freaked out, just totally wigged out, like
a panic attack, or okay.
Yeah,
You're sort of punching Jeffrey Giraffe in the balls.
I'm deciding whether I want to tell you the real story.
Yes, the real story. Come on.
Because I don't want to freak out when I'm sitting here. But,
Okay.
Are you gonna start windmill monkey punching everything in the room?
No, I suffer from vasovagal, where I go to the doctor.
Hazel the bagel.
What's Hazel the bagel?
I know Hazel the bagel. That's my daughter's toy.
Vageling is when you pass out because I'm afraid of the doctor. You know.
Oh no shit.
And so it's always been this
I'm
joke.
not. He's my best friend. I go to the doctor every day. We need to hang out more. I'll help you get over that.
It's always been this big joke that I go and I sympathize with like the worst possible outcome, and I freak out. And I'm at the time I wasn't so chubby. I was 6'2", 210, jacked, CrossFit crazy. Like I would go to a competition and win, because I was a maniac about being, the best that I could be.
Yeah.
And the big joke is, Big Mac goes and he falls out like a little baby, when he goes to the dentist. And so we had Kate. I passed out when we were doing it, when we were not doing it.
Oh, I was like, what?
when she was.
So you guys are fucking in Toys R Us. You pass out? Man, you're a maniac.
I gotta be careful what I say here.
Yeah.
When I was at the hospital, they're delivering and passed out. I think all the pressure of that, and so anxiety or a panic attack feels identical to that. And so I'm standing there. Ryan's looking at Ninja Turtles. I pull up my phone. My buddy's in the hospital, and Black Death comes over me.
Yeah.
And then it was like this realization that, oh my God, this could happen anywhere, anytime, any day.
Sure.
And it could be when I'm driving, when I'm wherever. And then I didn't realize this, but I thought I was fighting the feeling. But it was anxiety. I was anxious about being. It just.
It compounds. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
And all it takes is one seed of a thought, and then you become obsessed with that thought, and then it becomes.
You fight the thought.
And you fight
no, I'm not freaking out.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I've been fighting putting my tongue on this hole in my jaw.
Don't do it.
All this entire interview.
Yeah.
We've been going now for about an hour and 7 minutes. I haven't touched it one time, but you know how hard it is? I've never, just keeping my tongue away from it is harder than fighting 1,000 centimeters out. To me, it's like I'm just like, keep your tongue over there.
So the anxiety had been building up probably for years.
Large, and I know this now, and it's easy for me to tell the story now, but it was all a compounding of me doing everything. I'm the man.
You gotta be the best at everything.
Yeah.
Right. I've got to. Right. I'm in control. No. I have to do everything. Right.
Yeah.
So I took all the pressure, all the weight of, and once you have that money, it's like, oh my gosh, what happens if it goes away?
Mm-hmm.
So now everything's an agenda. Like I
think about that sometimes. I mean, just being fully transparent about this show. Because Tom and I are we're constantly obsessed with it. We're working on it constantly. And then I think we're both very surprised. Well, not necessarily surprised. Maybe that's a poor word. But I think we're both happy that things are moving along well, and everything seems good. But sometimes I think about it, and I'm like, oh my God, this could end.
It all goes away.
Right.
I know, yeah. I think a lot of people think about it.
And so I'm at home.
Especially when
I would go to my office.
Business department gambles crazy.
Freaking out. I would go to my office freaking out. My wife would come get me. Every day I was just fighting it. Again, it was all me. I'm gonna do it all. I gotta just reason out of this. And finally she's like, look, we've gotta go somewhere. We gotta get you to somebody.
Yeah.
And so we went to, I couldn't get in a psychiatrist. The parents said, that's big business. They're booked for months. I'm like, well, I'm dying here. I need to get in.
Yeah. It's a problem.
And so I finally get into a place, and he puts me on some Prozac of whatever. They wean you onto it, right?
Yeah.
So you don't go completely nutty. And so I'm fighting it. I can't eat, I can't sleep. I can go to the office for an hour or so, but I can't meet with anybody. And so I'm having to realize that I'm not the man.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just a flawed dude. Right? I thought I was better than everybody. And so the psychiatrist like, look, you got to go meet with a psychologist. They do the real work. And I'm open. So I went from closed, and again, inward, I-N-word.
I got you.
I'm gonna drop that saying off.
It's hard to do.
Introvert douchebag.
Yeah.
To now I'm open. Like,
Yeah.
if you told me to try something, I might listen to you. Instead of thinking, well, Tom's lazy, he's stupid, he doesn't know anything.
Say that again.
Write that down.
Hey, maybe Tom knows something I don't know.
No.
And so I go to this therapist's office. I walk in, and the dude's got like it's freaking crafts everywhere. I think I told this when I was here before. He has like hockey sticks that he cut and turned into a table, and his freaking papers everywhere. It's a total mess.
Hello.
Oh, you were freaking out.
You must be my 130.
He's got white New Balances on.
Yeah.
His jeans are up all high.
This has got a very Goodwill Hunting theme to it. Like, literally, you're Matt Damon looking at...
I'm finishing my seedless grapes.
Robin Williams.
Needed a little snack.
Like, what the hell do you know type of deal. Like, this is where I think I see where this is going. Yeah.
So, but I come in there without that. Like, I checked that at the door. Only because I was, like, in such panic.
Kind of like desperate for, like, I need to try something else.
You want to do it right.
Just
because...
help me. Please tell me what I got to do, and I will do it. Because I've tried everything I know how to try, and clearly that's not working.
Sure.
And so now I started to see results from this goofy dude who was a total opposite of me, giving me these exercises and helping me do things and helping me connect with my problems and what are the issues here. Why am I doing this? Why am I panicked? Why am I expounding and making this much? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
And so I'd come to the realization that I thought I was the king of the world, even though I didn't walk around saying I'm better than everybody. I thought I was, and people can smell that on you.
Yeah.
It's just you're giving off that vibe of unapproachableness and just and then I closed everybody out in my life. I mean, not so much my family, my immediate family, but just people in general. And so this is where YouTube comes into the equation, because one of my exercises was I need to figure out a way to make some friends, right? I need to figure out a way to connect with people.
Because at this time, I mean, of course you had your acquaintances or clients rather, but when it came to family life, you had obviously your wife, you had kid, but you didn't have any friends really? Like
I had
anybody?
some, but even then, like I would keep that all at a certain distance, like they're just, they're stupid. I know everything.
Yeah, no, I
that.
I know.
Man.
It's so much effort. Like, hey, I'll come help you move. Now, I'm making myself sound a little bit more of a jerk than I was. I was.
No. Well, I know I have noticed that every time you've been in here, you are very open about your own thoughts about how you used to be and how you treated people. And I've always admired that about you, because I don't think there's very many people, myself included. Yeah, I try to be very honest about my mistakes, and I think one of the best things you can do is, if you see yourself being a shitbag, is to call yourself out and be like, I think that's obviously you learn something if you can speak that openly about how...
Yeah, and again, I for the story, I'm maybe embellishing it. Like, it wasn't like everybody hated me. It's just I didn't let anybody in that close to like...
Yeah. And you look back on it now, comparatively, you like who you are now better,
And
I'm sure.
That's part of an introverted personality, too. You do keep people at a distance.
It's too much work.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also not something you like. It's more of a subconscious type of. It's not like you're deliberately doing it. It's just
like, okay, it's like the cold calls. All right, tomorrow I'll make 2 friends, or tomorrow I'll contribute to you, or or tomorrow I'll let somebody in. But I would come and help you move, but I don't want you helping me move, because you don't do it as good as I do it.
Yeah.
So now I still believe that,
Yeah.
but now I just own it, and then people already know it anyway. So it's kind of
so it was a skill. So this guy, Dr. Chuckles, tells you to, hey, this would be a good exercise to make some friends. Why don't you try this social media platform or this video platform?
So I think he wanted me to go meet my neighbor. and shake somebody's hand, but
Yeah.
I decided to do it more efficiently than that. There's still a little
I know
twinge
better
of
than you.
I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And so the only difference is now I admit it, right?
Yeah.
And so I started journaling I had a 911 Carrera S, a Porsche 911 Carrera S.
Never
at the time.
forget.
And so I decided I was going to give up all of my hang-ups of Merrill Lynch Matt and Matt. I'm gonna just own it, and who knows what will happen if I do that. Maybe somebody who sees Matt will call and hire Merrill Lynch Matt, or that's what I thought. And so I started journaling it, but I journaled it like, again, back to the theme of my life. I went and got all these designations. I became an expert in every head unit on the planet. I've chased it to a degree that very, very few are willing to go. And so I decided I'm going to journal my car like nobody's ever done. I'm going to share every single, if I take a nut off of the wheel, I'm going to share that. If I'm putting a radar detector in, I'm not just going to say, here it is and here it is installed. I'm going to show every part and piece. I'm going to show me busting my knuckles off of the fender well as I'm taking the wheel off. And I'm not going to be fearful that somebody's going to think that I'm stupid. Because I am stupid. At times everybody's stupid.
Yeah.
And so I just decided,
That's how you learn.
When anybody says, I don't care, I'm just going to do it real. And I'm going to do it the way that I would want to read it, which is lots and lots of detail. And then right after that, part of the anxiousness was that 911 Carrera S that I spent, I'll tell you, it was $135,000. I bought that car, and it was a lot of money. And I was, and I loved it more than I should have. And that partly contributed. It was stumbling. And so now part of my therapy was I just lost the money. I sold it. I sold it for $98,000. I had it for like 4 months. They dropped like a rock in value. And I bought a 911 GT3, which was the first blue GT3. I had one of the first in the country. And so I shared that, and then that's what kind of blew it all up, and that people started following me like crazy. And then I bought that car. So that was August of 2014 is when I started it, when I went crazy. Started the journal around September, and then October is when I got the GT3. Now, keep in mind, I couldn't drive yet, but I bought a freaking GT3. I still couldn't drive it. So people were asking me, why aren't you driving the car? Well, because I can't, because I'm crazy.
Because of your blackouts, literally your anxiety blackouts.
And you were told,
hey,
you can't do this kind of stuff.
Right. And so that was what started the whole thing. And I started the YouTube channel to connect the journal, to support the journal, because I was taking pictures of my detailing process and installing things, and I did an audio system in it, and I was sharing all the process of all this, but I wasn't videoing it. And video is a lot for my long format really made sense, and because I didn't make a YouTube channel to make money or to be popular, I just made it largely to get out of my own head. And,
sure.
It's just like you guys. You make all this content, this great content, and then money is a result. Well, if I can get out of my own head, the result will be relationship, because I'll somehow connect with people that believe what I believe. They connect to it somehow.
And it's a therapy too, because then you start connecting to people that have the same mindset and the same, like, maybe obsession compulsive disorder or whatever you want to call it. And then you're like, oh, it's just like any therapy. You start talking to other people that are facing or have the same mentality you do, and that's therapy. So then it's a way for you to all of a sudden worldwide, people are coming to your channel and then like, hey, Matt, I think I do the same shit to my car. I clean it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so people got to see, now. So I went, when I started the channel, I was in great shape, and then I got really skinny because I couldn't eat, and then when they put you on Prozac, I gained like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Because all I want to do is sleep and eat, and so people are seeing that.
That's our channel.
And I wasn't afraid to just say, hey, bro, I know I'm fat and bald, but this is me. This is why they put me on frickin' Prozac. What do you want me to do?
So you're open about all of that.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you, I mean, screw you. I mean, this is me.
Can't do anything about it.
When did you start? I mean, was your garage always like that was your personality? So I'm sure like it was a start. It's probably more aggressive now because of the channel than it was.
Yeah. So remember the first picture you pulled up last time I was here, and you're like, wow, this looks great. I'm like, that's my crappy old garage.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. That's when I started the channel, and again, everything I've done, I've never contrived, like I've never decided, okay, I'm going to make this episode because it's always just been, I'm doing this, I'm going to set up the camera.
Yeah.
And so it just so happened that as I started doing this, so Obsessed Garage didn't exist, this is just Matt Mormon making videos, journaling, and then I started building the garage that I always wanted at the time, and so I'm sharing it. And now it became really fun for me to chronicle it, to share it, to take pictures, to write about it. Because I knew that people were getting value from it. Because I knew I would get value from it if I were to read what I was writing. Right? And so that's been the thesis from the beginning, is that, hey, people, and I'm starting to get some feedback, and people are really connecting with us. I'm starting to tell the story of this obsession and being open with it. And again, I didn't make the channel about that, but I was just, if someone was jerking me around about, telling me how stupid I am, I would just say, hey, bro, here's what's going on. Here's why I'm doing that. I wouldn't fight back. I would just answer, in my very dry, very, very direct. Hey, here's what this costs. Here's why.
Yeah, here's why I'm doing. Here's the process.
Now, you're still a financial advisor at this time when you start the YouTube channel. When did you start focusing more on the YouTube channel than your job?
So August of 14 is when I went crazy. And then it took me a good 6 months to just get back to normal. Still not normal, but to get back to normal. And so I was I'm making videos, but I didn't monetize the channel, so I didn't have ads on it. It was Matt Mormon. And then I'm starting to get more and more people, so I'm doing my job, I'm running that business, I'm the manager, I'm at Merrill Lynch, everything's great, I'm making lots of money, everything's cool, that's growing. I'm back to being able to show up at work every day. And so I built, over the course of that spring and fall, I started chasing making t-shirts. No. I started building the website. The t-shirts came the following year. So in 2015, I built obsessedgarage.com. I wanted to call it that'sjunk.com because I kind of like you, Tom, where I have these sayings like blood hand or shirt or
and by the way, you use the Danger Brain as well too, and because you're listening to our show this whole time.
I've been a part of listening to this. You guys forever, but because when I came to Orlando, I started listening to Phillips File, and the Phillips File connected me with the Monsters. You guys and those were my favorites on the channel. And so so I built the website because people were beating me up over, you got to put links in the videos, and I'm like, I have a job here, I have
we get some of that too, where people are like, do this, and it's like, man, we don't have a designated department for that.
I could, but I don't want to, and so I built the site to send everybody to, so I built obsessedgarage.com to connect people to. And I built it like I do everything. I became immersed. I learned WordPress and started digging in and really built the site that I wanted to go to. And so then people started going to that site. Now, at the same time, people started searching for me at Merrill Lynch. And so come like a year later, now I'm really gaining traction. I had probably 25,000 subscribers on YouTube at the time. And I started, that was right around the time I met Adam LZ. I actually sent him an email because I thought he'd be a great financial advisor. And I said, dude, you're just great at enrolling people. He had like 600,000 subscribers at the time.
Yeah.
And that's when my channel jumped from, say, 20,000 to like 75 or 80, and then we've grown slowly from there. It's at 120,000 now. But YouTube is never and never will be the business. It's just the top of the funnel, right? So although it looks like, and I have to start being a little bit more transparent with this. It looks like all I do is make videos, but I'm at my office every day.
Yeah.
I'm just a massively efficient dude. Like I don't jerk around all day. I mean, this is as this is as jerking around as I come here to mess with you. Mess around with you guys.
Pretty serious.
Wait a minute, this is our goddamn little living
jerk
room.
around. We
Sir?
really jerk around. I'm in there playing. I got a turkey hat on. I got 2 puppets.
Listen,
I got my pants
this is
on.
how inefficient we are. We're actually making one of our biggest sponsors wait for us in our lobby because
we're running late.
Our schedules are
I'm running late because I got a hole in my jaw.
You want me to roll through this here, get this story done?
No. Because I would definitely I want to have you. I want to have you back to talk about just the YouTube.
Yeah, but I think we did a nice job of getting, chatting with the masters, getting to YouTube.
Yeah.
Damn fine job.
Because here's the thing, there's a whole nother episode that about YouTube that is there's another hour of us just talking about the YouTube world because because going back to hearing your story, obviously you've obsessed about YouTube and figuring out what that is all about and how, because right now the some of the stuff you're doing on your site, it's pretty amazing because if you go on your site right now, you've got stuff for sale. Obviously you can buy t-shirts, that's one thing, but you also can buy a $190 or $390 pressure washer that you figured out the exact specs, what kind of pressure washer is best, what kind of wand was best, what kind of nozzles were best. You engineered or cherry picked all these best things to wash a car, put it together, and you put it up on your site for $390. And then I'm like, who the fuck is buying this? But as you how many of those have you sold?
Well, it's $1,600.
Okay, sorry.
I think I don't know. It's 400 or 500, 600, something like that, year to date.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things. Okay.
A lot of pressure washer.
And just off of your YouTube alone.
So YouTube, I make about $2,500 to $3,000 a month on YouTube. So YouTube is a tiny little snapshot. So. So what I do, the way I live, and just sort of make this quick here, wrap this up for you guys. So, I left Merrill Lynch, started my own business called Obsessed Wealth. It's at Raymond James, is where I clear through. They're the parent.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I'm the owner of the business. I didn't own anything at Merrill. Merrill was censoring me, rightfully so, in that I wanted to connect me, which is obsessed, to everything that I do.
Yeah.
And so I think about this like a funnel. So now I'm intentional about this to some extent. I don't have an agenda. I'm not looking to get people's money out of this. But what I do believe, I believe those that think the same way I think, or at least can appreciate and they're passionate about something, that people will want to purchase, or they'll want to contribute to me.
Yeah.
That's a big epiphany, is that them contributing to me, and it doesn't mean I owe them something. It means that we're connected. We're in relationships.
Sure.
Somehow. So, anyway, so my life, the way it exists now, is I make content. I create stuff. For instance, right now, the videos you were watching, I'm doing it'll probably be a 15-part series of I bought a Ford Raptor, the new Raptor. It's blue, and I completely stripped it down, paint corrected it, and I'm protecting it. So I'm sharing every step of that process. Each video's 30 minutes long.
I like your Raptor. Pretty cool.
It's awesome, yeah. It's my second one. I gave my old Raptor. My wife now drives that, so we have 2 Raptors. Crazy.
I see how you interact, you interweave your family and your personal story with this obsession.
I want that new gangster Raptor.
and so
I'm really sorry.
And with the YouTube channel, you're just basically using it as funneling down people.
That's the start of the relationship, right? And so I'm sharing. This is me, and I'm not afraid to sometimes just do me. I'm just telling the story. If I think something's stupid, I say it's stupid. If I think something's great, I say it's great. And so people watch the video, and they probably the vast majority of it's like insect repellent. They run the other way because they're just not interested in that style. They want to be entertained. And so I make the videos. The videos then connect me with people that believe the same thing. And of course I have the other social platforms, Instagram, and I have a Facebook group, kind of like you guys have the BDM private group, the closed group. I have a closed Obsessed Garage group. There are 18,000 people there that we've vetted that are a part of it. From there, I'll invite people to what I call the OG core. There's several hundred in there that I've identified that really get it and really are willing to tell their story. They connect that way. And so then I have the retail store, which is the next level, right? So they can purchase something from me. And mainly it's just, these are things that are hard to find, and I'm good at that, and so I'm just providing a solution.
Yeah.
And so some people are...
It's like a curated playlist of your favorite products?
I'm consulting,
Yeah.
yeah. It's what I want.
I like that.
It's what I want to own, and so I own it, and so I'm providing it to you if you want to buy it from me. One, if you want to support me, that's some people. Other people, it's because it's hard to get. It's hard to find. Like, I've imported stuff from the UK, from Australia, from other places that aren't available here. And so that's become a major part of the business. So I told Tom this, I think this year, so I started it in January of this year, 2017. I think I'll hit probably $1.4 million, $1.5 million in sales, at 35% margin, something like that.
Wow,
So
that's crazy.
It's absolutely insane. I would have never guessed it. But then people can call me to manage their money. The tricky part is, and this has been the hardest part for me to realize, is that because I spend more time building out this retail store, wealth management is easy for me. I've spent 100,000 hours of tens of thousands of hours becoming an expert in that. And the last 3 years of my life, I've literally been beating myself up over, man, why are you making these videos? You're wasting time. You should be focused on the money. But the money takes me like 10 minutes a week because I have built all these systems and controls. And like this morning, I woke up and I look at all the data and there's nothing to do. And so I have this inner desire that I have to justify my existence, that I need to call all my clients and tell them everything's okay, when none of them care because they know that I'm obsessed. And so the more that I can give that up, the more I can say to you, Daniel, the market's down 300 points. Don't frickin' call me again when the market's down 300 points because there's nothing I can do about it. And being okay with saying that, because being okay with, there is no, again, Merrill Lynch Matt, now it's Raymond James, there is no Obsessed Wealth Matt and Obsessed Garage Matt, there's just Matt. And so I should be talking to myself in the third person.
No. I get what you're saying.
So now I wear whatever the heck it is I want to wear to the office, and I meet with my clients at the garage half the time, and I'm meeting with people, online, and I have people calling me from California, from Delaware, from every part of the country that say, hey, I watch you doing this. Do you deal with people out of state? So I haven't marketed it at all, and I've probably gathered 45 million, something like that, over the last 2 years just doing it. So now I'm building a business around connecting them all. Where it's just me doing a video and that all connects to retail. I'll probably start manufacturing products because there's some things out there that aren't as good as I want them to be. So I sell stuff.
We bought remote control cockroaches from a Middle Eastern website, and I believe they're lost in the mail. Have you done that?
Matt, could you be obsessed with making our business better? Because we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
A lot of changes. I'm gonna write 2 names on the board, and we're gonna walk out. And when we come back in, you've erased 1, and that person pack your things.
So I live this crazy life now. Like I'm like this weekend, I gotta go buy a plane ticket, but I'm flying up to New York City because I'm doing this billionaire's garage. I'm designing his garage. He just asked me if I would design it, so I'm consulting for him. We're building a garage for him, and then later that weekend, I'm meeting with the company that makes the pressure washer because I'm going to tell them how much smarter I am than them and how they should make the product differently. But they're
You're
listening.
like the actual smart version of what Tom wants to be.
Yeah, that's why.
You tell everybody how to do things, and you think you're smarter than everyone, but he actually is.
How dare you? I agree.
Backs it up with.
And that's why we're all doing this. Because I see Matt doing all this shit, and I want so much to do.
To be him.
But I just realized it's not in no underwear right now because.
Well, you're not over obsessed like he is.
So I think the key message is figure out how to take that, which you have, how to take that, and you don't take yourself too seriously, and take that passion for disorganization, the orb, right?
Yeah.
You take the orb and you just own it.
How do you monetize the orb?
Here's the thing.
You are.
You know how many? Yes, I am. Here's the thing.
I just want to make sure. Are we breaking soon?
Yes, yeah. We got Ryan's here. We're definitely gonna have Matt back on because.
And then we'll go through all the YouTube because I think that's a good.
Yeah. Well,
that's a nice stopping point.
Yeah, we'll do all YouTube, but
that's super interesting, man.
But the why I relate a lot to Matt is because like we're joking around about monetizing the orb or monetizing bad at life. Like shit, my whole career on the radio, I've always just made fun of myself and just talked about like, hey, I'm bad at this. I'm fucking bad at this. My wife yells at me about this, and that's all I do. And then, but there are a lot of people that relate to that. I meet everybody all the time. They're like, hey, I'm bad at the. I got the orb
or
too.
Like anxiety. The fact that you talk about that.
Daniel's anxiety.
I talk about my anxiety openly, and I get more emails. Like I'll get more emails about this goddamn rubbing my hole in my jaw than anything I've ever done. That's funny.
Yeah.
Because more people, everybody can relate to it. They're dealing with it. Especially around the holidays, it gets a little sticky.
So what the overall message is? It literally is almost like they've been telling you to be yourself. Everybody's been saying, "Oh, be yourself. Just be yourself." And no one knows how to do that really because you're like, who the fuck am I? Like what does that mean? And then you just start owning what your flaws and everything bad about and then other people will relate to that because I think as a kid you want to grow up to be this adult that you see on TV or you see in magazines.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, and then these people that are just like, hey, I'm perfect. I got my shit together. I got it. Then it's just complete bullshit.
And all the while you're doing that, all the while you're faking that, you have this agenda. Like I want more business or I want more listeners or I want more whatever. As soon as you let that go, as soon as you get rid of the business you and the casual you, stolen this from my business coach talks about this all the time, get rid of that. Now you have to be appropriate when it's appropriate, right? There's an appropriate Tom when you're dealing with advertisers. There's an appropriate Tom when you're on the air.
Yeah.
There's an appropriate.
Both of those include underwear, by the way.
Well, you wouldn't know if I didn't say anything.
Oh, I know.
But if I did,
I see the pecker tracks under your. He gets pecker tracks because he doesn't shake.
But there's a reason why I said that is because I want people to know that's why I'm sitting here with no underwear. I didn't have to tell you.
This is casual. Radio talk. Business Tom will put on some goddamn underwear.
Because I forgot, and this is the chaos in life, and why
didn't you wear your old underwear?
It stunk.
Oh my god!
I tried, but it stunk too bad.
You know what? Nobody's underwear really. Like I've never taken off underwear before. Except for the ones I shit myself at the gym. But I've never just taken off a regular pair of underwear and been like, can't rewear that.
That happens.
We gotta get out of here.
This is why I like Tom so much because it makes me feel so much better about myself.
That's why people listen.
That's the magic.
They listen to Daniel. They're like, I'm crazy too.
Yeah.
Or
they'll say I'm not crazy. Look at him. He's tortured. All right. Three Fazoli's.
Well, Matt, if you just search Obsessed Garage, like you're all over the internet, our listeners can find you easily.
Podcast is dialed in. It's called Dialed In. Some Obsession Required.
Cool.
It's my podcast. If you want to hear more of that,
yeah, man,
tell
definitely.
This story a lot more in detail and talk to. The magic of this is that it's helped me connect with other people. And so everywhere I go, like people just start dumping their story on me. Like I think people can smell it on you. So I'll get some rich kid on the podcast and he'll be telling the story of real instead of the guarded rich kid. He'll tell me the story of what he's doing and what he's passionate about, and it doesn't matter that he's a rich kid; he's just a dude.
Yeah. And I definitely want you to get. We're gonna do a live Twitch broadcast where Matt comes into my garage, and then we can watch him freak out, and then have a blackout panic attack. That's good.
The ambulance
that's good YouTube,
ready.
Matt. Yeah, but
real good YouTube.
But I think we'll be working a lot with Matt in the future, just because he's a smart dude. I want to be as successful as him. I've seen his house and how rich and happy his family is. I'd like to do that, and because I'm not there.
First step. Cockroaches. Electric cockroaches from Fona BB, Middle Eastern website.
So Matt, thank you for coming in, doing a chat with the Masters, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Yep. Guys, we'll see you on the OG show and on ACT and on Twitch.
Yes.
So, we'll see you next week.
What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to